It all began on a rainy autumn evening when Mark, a 38-year-old software engineer, stood silently outside his home, drenched and shattered. The distant glow of street lamps flickered on the wet pavement as his heart pounded with disbelief. Just minutes ago, he had uncovered the cruel truth. His wife, Emily, the woman he trusted, had been unfaithful. The storm outside matched the turmoil raging inside him. Mark's mind raced as memories of their 12 years together flooded in, promises made, laughter shared, dreams built. Yet now, everything felt like a lie. His voice cracked as he muttered to himself, "How could she?" He knew this revelation would change everything. The future they planned was now clouded by betrayal, and a heavy silence settled over the empty house behind him. Mark's story was not just about heartbreak. It was about the choices that followed, choices that would push him into uncharted territory. As the rain soaked his clothes, his resolve hardened. He would confront Emily, but this was only the beginning of a much darker journey. The betrayal was the shock that ignited a fire within him, a fire that would soon consume both their lives. The following morning brought a heavy silence that clung to the house like a thick fog. Mark sat at the kitchen table, the bitter taste of betrayal lingering as he stared at the unopened letter in front of him, Emily's confession full of apologies and regret. His mind churned through every conversation they had, searching for signs he missed. The house felt colder, emptier, as if the walls themselves mourned with him. Mark's friends tried reaching out, but he pushed them away, retreating into a bubble of confusion and hurt. Despite the pain, a strange resolve began to build inside him. He was done being a victim. If Emily wanted a fight, he'd give her one. But it wouldn't be a battle of anger. It would be a battle for justice and dignity. This was his breaking point, the moment when a broken man decided to reclaim control over his shattered life. Mark's decision was swift and cold. He would sue Emily for infidelity and breach of trust, not out of vengeance, but to expose the truth and protect his dignity. He spent days meeting lawyers, gathering evidence, and building a case. Every step weighed heavily on him, but the fire of determination burned brighter. His lawyer warned that the path would be painful and public, but Mark felt ready to face whatever came. The courtroom wasn't just a place for legal battles, it was a stage for his redemption. As Emily's lawyer approached with a smug smile, Mark's heart hardened. This wasn't just about money or revenge. It was about reclaiming the life that was stolen from him. With a steady voice, Mark said, "I want the truth on the record." Days turned into weeks as the case unfolded in the public eye. Mark endured whispered gossip, invasive questions, and the crushing weight of betrayal made visible in court transcripts. Emily, once radiant, now looked defeated, her confident mask slipping. The settlement negotiations grew tense, neither side willing to back down easily. But Mark's heart was conflicted. Despite the legal battle, a part of him mourned the woman he once loved. Still, he pressed on, determined to turn his pain into power. Each hearing peeled back layers of their shared life, revealing secrets and lies no one expected. Mark's voice rang clear in the courtroom as he declared, "This is about more than money, it's about respect." Finally, the day came when the judge ruled in Mark's favor, awarding him a substantial settlement. The courtroom fell silent as the verdict was read, a mix of relief and sadness washing over Mark. He felt vindicated but also hollow. Money couldn't erase the years of betrayal. Yet, this was his new beginning. Instead of bitterness, Mark chose a path of unexpected grace. He decided to spend the settlement in a way that would forever change their story. Buying Emily her dream house, not as an act of kindness, but as a statement of his strength and control. It was a twist no one saw coming, and the start of a chapter that would redefine both their lives. After the courtroom battle ended, Mark found himself alone in his new reality. The house he bought for Emily stood quiet and untouched, an ironic monument to a broken past. Each room echoed memories they had shared, yet he moved through it with a calm determination. Mark's days became a mix of reflection and resolve. Friends invited him out, but he often declined, preferring solitude to sort through the tangled emotions. The pain of betrayal was still fresh, but beneath it grew a seed of hope. Mark told himself, "This isn't the end, it's a chance to rebuild." The house symbolized not only Emily's dreams, but also the possibility of a future where he could reclaim his happiness, on his own terms. Slowly, the empty rooms began to feel like a canvas for his new beginning. Mark's emotions were a tangled web: anger, sadness, and a surprising sense of empathy for Emily. He replayed their years together, trying to understand what had gone wrong. At night, he poured his thoughts into a journal, each word a step toward healing. Despite everything, he wished her well, not out of weakness, but because bitterness would only chain him to the past. Friends who saw his strength admired how he transformed pain into growth. Mark began exploring new hobbies and reconnecting with old passions. His story was no longer just about betrayal, but about resilience. The house, once a symbol of loss, gradually became a place of peace, where Mark could dream again without fear. One evening, Mark hosted a small dinner for close friends, breaking his silence. Laughter filled the house for the first time in months. As they toasted new beginnings, Mark felt a lightness he hadn't known since the betrayal. He shared parts of his story, not to relive pain but to inspire strength. His friends admired his courage, and their support was a balm to his wounded heart. That night, Mark realized healing didn't mean forgetting, it meant moving forward with grace. The house was no longer just Emily's dream, it was now a home of resilience and hope, where Mark's story would continue, stronger than before. Despite progress, shadows lingered. Mark sometimes caught himself staring at old photos or revisiting painful memories. Forgiveness was a distant horizon, but he was walking toward it. He confronted his own flaws, trust, vulnerability, and pride, and learned to embrace them. Therapy sessions helped untangle emotions and provided tools to rebuild. Mark's journey wasn't linear. Setbacks came, but each was met with renewed determination. The house, once cold and silent, was now filled with personal touches, artwork, music, and warmth. It wasn't just a physical space. It was a testament to growth. Mark whispered to himself, "I am more than what happened to me." Months later, Mark stood on the porch watching the sunset, the sky painted with fiery oranges and purples. He felt a calm he hadn't known in years. The house no longer represented betrayal, but renewal. Mark had transformed his pain into a foundation for a new life. Though the scars remained, they were reminders of survival and strength. Emily's dream house was now his sanctuary, a place where hope and healing grew side by side. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Mark smiled softly, ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing he had reclaimed his story on his own terms. As Mark's healing progressed, unexpected challenges surfaced. Gossip began to swirl in their tight-knit community. Friends and neighbors whispered behind closed doors, questioning his motives and decisions. Some sympathized, others doubted his strength. Mark felt the weight of judgment like a shadow hanging over his every step. Yet he refused to let rumors define him. Each whispered word only steeled his resolve to live authentically and prove that resilience wasn't weakness. Mark's story had become more than a private battle. It was a public testament to human endurance. At night, he lay awake, wrestling with vulnerability but always rising stronger with dawn's first light. His journey was far from over. Mark encountered moments where old wounds threatened to reopen. A chance meeting with Emily stirred conflicting emotions. Their eyes met briefly, years of love and betrayal condensed into one sharp glance. Mark's heart wavered between anger and lingering affection. He knew closure wasn't instant, it was a slow, painful process. He reminded himself that strength meant facing these feelings head-on, not running from them. The encounter became a turning point, reaffirming Mark's commitment to self-respect. He whispered quietly, "I choose my peace." From that moment, Mark stepped further into his new life, embracing the unknown with courage rather than fear. Work became Mark's refuge, a place where he could channel his energy and focus on rebuilding. His colleagues noticed a quiet determination in him, a renewed passion. Long hours and late nights in the office helped drown out lingering doubts. Yet Mark balanced this with moments of self-care, attending yoga classes and reconnecting with old friends. The process of reclaiming himself was multifaceted. Sometimes progress felt slow, but every small step was a victory. Mark learned that healing wasn't a destination but a daily choice. Through discipline and compassion, he began crafting a new identity, one not defined by betrayal, but by resilience and hope. Despite rebuilding, shadows of the past lingered in unexpected ways. One evening a letter arrived, anonymous, cruel, questioning Mark's choices and stirring old doubts. For a moment, the pain resurfaced sharply, threatening to undo months of progress. But Mark refused to be undone. He read the words once, then crumpled the paper, letting the anger fuel his determination instead. He shared the experience with a trusted friend, who reminded him that strength was born from vulnerability. Mark realized that setbacks were part of his story, not the end. With renewed clarity, he reaffirmed his commitment to moving forward, stronger and wiser. By the end of the year, Mark stood transformed, not because the scars had vanished, but because he had learned to live with them. The community's whispers grew quieter as his strength became undeniable. He volunteered at local charities, sharing his story to inspire others. The house, once a symbol of betrayal, now echoed with laughter and new memories. Mark's journey was a testament to the human spirit's capacity to rise from the ashes. As he looked out over a winter sunset, he smiled with quiet pride, knowing that the path ahead was his to define. This was no longer a story of loss. It was a story of unyielding hope. One chilly morning, Mark received an unexpected visit from Emily. The years between them hung heavy in the air as she stood on his porch, hesitant but determined. Her eyes told stories of regret and change. Mark felt a surge of conflicting emotions, anger, pain, but also a flicker of the past love they once shared. Emily spoke softly, "I never wanted to hurt you." Mark listened carefully, realizing this confrontation was more than an apology. It was a turning point. Though wounds remained, the moment sparked the possibility of forgiveness and closure. Mark's heart was guarded but open, aware that true healing required facing the past with courage. Their conversation unfolded slowly, filled with pauses and unspoken emotions. Emily shared her own struggles, confessing that betrayal had stemmed from loneliness and fear rather than malice. Mark acknowledged the pain but also recognized her humanity. The dialogue wasn't about blame anymore. It was about understanding and accepting harsh truths. Mark said quietly, "We both lost something precious." This moment of vulnerability shifted the dynamic, allowing both to glimpse a future where bitterness didn't dominate. They parted with a cautious respect, the weight of years slightly lifted, and the possibility of peace growing in the fragile space between them. News of their meeting quickly spread, reigniting public interest in Mark's story. The media portrayed the encounter as a dramatic reconciliation, sparking debate and speculation. Mark found himself thrust back into the spotlight, now as a figure of both scandal and redemption. The attention was overwhelming, but also strangely validating. Mark understood that his story had transcended personal pain. It was now a narrative about growth, forgiveness, and the messy realities of human relationship. He resolved to control the narrative by speaking openly, sharing lessons learned rather than dwelling on past wounds. This newfound voice gave him a sense of empowerment he hadn't expected. Despite public scrutiny, Mark remained focused on rebuilding his life privately. He invested time and energy into new relationships and passions, refusing to be defined by past mistakes. Friends noticed a quiet confidence in him, a man who had faced darkness and emerged stronger. Yet Mark kept a part of his journey private, recognizing that some healing happens away from the public eye. The house, once a symbol of pain, now stood as a testament to resilience and renewal. Each room reflected Mark's growth and intention to create a future untethered by past shadows. He often whispered to himself, "This is my life to build." As the year drew to a close, Mark found himself reflecting on the unpredictable twists of his journey. The pain, betrayal, and legal battles had shaped him, but they no longer defined him. He stood at the threshold of a new chapter, grateful for the lessons learned and the strength gained. The house he bought for Emily was now truly his home, a sanctuary filled with hope, resilience, and the promise of new beginnings. Mark's story was no longer about the past, but about the limitless possibilities ahead. As snow began to fall softly outside, he smiled quietly, ready to embrace the future on his own terms, free and unburdened. Mark's transformation reached a pivotal moment when he decided to give back to the community that had watched his painful journey unfold. He began volunteering at a local shelter, offering support to those facing hardship. His empathy grew deeper, shaped by his own trials. Each story he heard mirrored a piece of his struggle, reminding him of resilience's power. Mark found healing in service, understanding that strength was not just personal but communal. The act of helping others brought a new sense of purpose and joy. He often reflected, "Pain connects us, but hope unites us." This chapter was about more than survival. It was about living fully and meaningfully beyond the past. As Mark's life blossomed, so did new relationships. He cautiously opened his heart, aware of past wounds but willing to trust again. A close friendship sparked with Anna, a compassionate woman who understood his pain and resilience. Their conversations were honest and healing, full of laughter and shared dreams. Mark found comfort in companionship without pressure or fear. This new connection wasn't about replacing the past, but creating a fresh start, built on respect and kindness. Mark realized love was possible again, not perfect, but real. He said quietly to himself, "I am ready to embrace this new chapter." Mark's renewed sense of self fueled his career ambitions. He pitched a bold project at work, blending technology with social impact. His colleagues admired his vision and passion. The project was more than business. It was a mission to empower others, inspired by his journey. Late nights and tireless dedication paid off when the project received approval and funding. Mark felt pride not just in success, but in the positive change he was fostering. He understood that his pain had given birth to purpose. His life was no longer reactive but proactive, a deliberate creation of meaning and impact. Despite progress, Mark faced moments of doubt and loneliness. Healing wasn't linear, and setbacks tested his resolve. One rainy evening he sat alone by the window, reflecting on how far he'd come, and the road still ahead. Memories of betrayal still flickered in his mind, but they no longer controlled him. Instead, they reminded him of the strength he'd built. Mark understood vulnerability was not weakness, but courage. He whispered, "I carry my scars proudly. They are proof I survived." This acceptance marked a new level of self-love and empowerment, fueling his readiness to face whatever life brought next. The climax of Mark's journey came unexpectedly when he organized a community event celebrating resilience and renewal. People from all walks of life gathered, sharing stories and supporting one another. Mark stood on stage, humbled and proud, speaking openly about his past and the lessons learned. His words resonated deeply, inspiring others to embrace their struggles with courage. The event was not just a celebration. It was a declaration of victory over pain and betrayal. Mark's journey had come full circle, proving that even the deepest wounds can lead to the brightest futures. Months passed, and Mark's life settled into a new rhythm, marked by growth and calm. Yet, the past occasionally resurfaced in unexpected ways. One morning, he received a letter from Emily, not seeking reconciliation but closure. Her words were honest and respectful, acknowledging their shared pain and expressing hope for their separate futures. Mark read the letter quietly, feeling a mixture of relief and finality. The message was a symbolic closing of a difficult chapter. He realized forgiveness was less about the other person and more about freeing himself from lingering burdens. With a steady breath, Mark folded the letter, ready to move forward without looking back. At work, Mark's new project flourished, gaining recognition for its innovative approach and social impact. His leadership inspired colleagues, and his vision sparked hope in the community. Mark often reflected on how adversity had fueled his ambition, turning pain into purpose. Despite success, he remained humble and grounded, remembering the lessons of empathy and resilience. Mark's story was no longer defined by betrayal, but by transformation. Each milestone was a testament to his strength and the power of second chances. He told a close friend, "I'm proud of how far I've come, and excited for what's next." Mark and Anna's relationship deepened as they navigated life's ups and downs together. Their bond was rooted in honesty, patience, and mutual support. Anna encouraged Mark to embrace vulnerability, helping him heal wounds still hidden beneath his calm exterior. Together, they built a foundation of trust and shared dreams. Mark found joy in simple moments: a quiet dinner, a walk in the park, laughter echoing in their home. The future felt open and inviting. For the first time in years, Mark allowed himself to dream freely, knowing he was not alone. Their love was imperfect but real, a beautiful new chapter unfolding. One evening, Mark hosted a gathering at his home. Friends, colleagues, and loved ones came together to celebrate growth and community. The house, once a symbol of betrayal, now overflowed with warmth, laughter, and light. Mark felt surrounded by support and love, grateful for the journey that brought him here. He shared stories of struggle and triumph, reminding everyone that pain could be transformed into strength. The atmosphere was one of joy and healing, a testament to human resilience. Mark's smile was genuine and full of hope, reflecting a man who had reclaimed his life with courage and grace. As night deepened, Mark stepped outside onto the porch, gazing at the stars above. The quiet sky mirrored his inner peace, a stark contrast to the stormy nights of the past. He felt gratitude for the pain that shaped him, and the love that now surrounded him. Mark whispered softly, "This is my story, and I own it." The journey from betrayal to healing was complete, not because the past was forgotten, but because it was embraced and transcended. The future was a blank page, and Mark was ready to write it with hope, resilience, and unwavering strength. Mark's journey culminated in quiet moments of reflection. One crisp autumn evening, he sat alone on his porch, the air tinged with the scent of fallen leaves. The house behind him, once a battleground of pain, now felt like a sanctuary. His thoughts drifted to the past, the betrayal that shattered his world and the unexpected path that followed. Mark smiled softly, recognizing the strength born from every heartbreak and healing step. He whispered to the cool wind, "I am not who I was. I am more." This was the beginning of a life shaped by resilience and hope, a testament to the human spirit's capacity to rise. The community around Mark had changed as well. Neighbors who once whispered now greeted him with smiles and respect. His story became a quiet inspiration, a reminder that even the deepest wounds can heal. Mark embraced his role as a beacon of hope, volunteering and mentoring those facing hardship. His life was no longer defined by betrayal, but by the connections he nurtured. Each interaction reaffirmed his belief in second chances. Mark's heart was open, his future unwritten, but filled with promise. He often thought, "Our past shapes us, but it does not have to define us." One afternoon, Mark sat with Anna in a quiet park, watching children play under golden leaves. Their hands intertwined, a silent promise of shared futures. They talked about dreams, fears, and the unpredictable beauty of life. Mark reflected on how far he had come, not just in healing, but in learning to love again. Anna's presence was a gift, a gentle reminder that new chapters could be written with kindness and trust. Together, they embraced the imperfect unfolding story ahead. Mark said softly, "With you, I am whole again." The past never vanished completely, but Mark no longer feared it. He had learned to carry his scars as symbols of survival and growth. Occasionally, he shared his story publicly, hoping to inspire others facing similar pain. The tale of betrayal turned to healing resonated widely, reminding many that resilience was possible. Mark's voice was steady and sincere, his message clear. Strength is forged in adversity, and forgiveness is freedom. His journey was a beacon, proof that even the darkest nights lead to dawn. Mark smiled, knowing his story was not just his own, but a light for others to follow. In the story's final moments, Mark stood alone at the edge of a serene lake at dusk. The water mirrored the fading light, calm and endless. He breathed deeply, feeling a profound peace. The journey from betrayal to renewal had transformed him utterly. The house he bought for Emily was no longer a symbol of pain, but a foundation for his future. Mark whispered, "This is my life, strong, whole, and free." The gentle ripples on the water echoed his resilience, a quiet testament that even from heartbreak, new beginnings arise. The story closed on a note of hope, strength, and the endless possibility of tomorrow.